Islam Moors is Grand Sheikh Kudro Adwa El, Canaanland Moors, Moorish Science Temple of America, Moorish Divine and National Movement, Moorish Holy Temple of Science. Today's class is going to be answering the questions from the debate that was supposed to happen July 29th, 2012 with Lord Abba. Now, just to put some things out there, the brother has been challenging me personally to a debate for about the past year and a half, right? You ask him, he'll tell you that, right? And we discussed the debate, you know, amongst the body of Moors in Canaanland. And, you know, when he did challenge the Grand Mufti, the Grand Vanguard, Adisa Hanib El, boldly put his position out there from the start that, quote unquote, it's bullshit. Why are we wasting our time with this guy? You know, we already know Lord Abba's MO, but we came to the agreement that the people need the information about the Moorish movement. So this would be a good avenue for us to get the information out there about the Prophet, about the movement, you know what I mean, and from the right perspective, because, you know, we know that people watch Canaanland Moors videos and DVDs and stuff like that, right? So it was really just for us to get the information out to the people. So the brother that set up the debate, Aya Morhart, he basically called me. I called him on the morning of the debate and I didn't get him, right? So when he called me back, it was probably about 1 o'clock, and then he basically told me that, yeah, you know, the debate's canceled. So we're like, all right, you know, so we still went ahead with class, you know, because again, the Mufti, you know, being that we deal with the ancestors and we deal with, you know, the Orishas and all that, you know, he received the message that it's bullshit, let's not deal with it. So we already set up to have class on Sunday. That's why we did the lecture or the debate on Sunday, right? Because we deal with the Orishas. We are more scientists. We're not just, you know, I mean, some brothers that are on this information, and, you know, like there's Babas, there's oracles that we know personally that link us to let us know what's going on, right? When we get attacked because the spirit happens before the physical. So before, like, we already felt the energy, right? From before the debate, from a year ago, why the debate has never happened, because of us choosing to not let it happen, right? Because we're God, we're the controllers and guiders of what goes on with regard to us, right? And we follow the plebiscite, meaning that we are all on one accord in Canaanland mentally. We're not scattered like how you see Moors out there, right? We know everybody. When we have a class and an agent comes in, we know. Everybody looks at each other and we know. It's instant. But that's the truth about your nationality and birthrights, that these Moors don't want. Negro, black, colored, and even Moors who are not fully conscious to the degree that they should be on, this is what they're hiding from people. People like Lord Abba, right? I'm not hating on them, but why would you even want to debate if it's Ramadan in the first place, right? And you would have known that it was Ramadan, or that Ramadan was coming, from when you challenged us to a debate, because, you know, Ramadan is not no new thing. You do that every year, right? So under, and I say under, right, because you know I'm only Grand Sheep, right? The law is actually enforced by the vanguards, right? So the Grand Vanguard, or the head of our intelligence, Adisa Hanif, I am doing this debate under his authority, right? Because you know I'm Grand Sheik. Mufti has nothing to do with me. The only thing Mufti has to do with me is that I'm also a Mufti, right? I also have an obligation to enforce the law when I see that the law is being violated, right? So the Grand Vanguard gave me the authority to do this session today so we can get this thing cleared up, right? Because he's still out there talking about he wants to debate Canaanland Moors after you defaulted, right? So this is Black's Law Dictionary 8th edition. So this is going to be a watered down definition, right? If you want to get a better reference, get yourself or try to get hold of a law dictionary from 4th edition, 5th edition, or before that, right? But this is just a basic so you can understand what somebody defaulting is, right? So default, the omission or failure to perform a contractual or legal duty, to be neglectful, to fail to perform a contractual obligation, to fail to appear or answer, to enter a default judgment against litigant. Defaultant, in default, having defaulted. Defaulter, a person who is in default, a person who misappropriates or fails to account for money held in the person's official or fiduciary capacity. Alright, so we already know that he defaulted, right? And if he defaulted, he was neglectful, he failed to perform a contractual obligation. What was the contractual obligation? The contractual obligation was this debate, right? And the witness to this debate, there's actually two witnesses. There's Aya Moorhart Media, right? There's the trust organization. So there's two witnesses to this contract that was arranged to happen July 29th between Lord Abba and Canaanland Moors. And Canaanland Moors was there, but Lord Abba defaulted, right? So he neglected to take care of his contractual obligation, right? So basically he forfeit, right? Now we don't call that wins, right? Because where we come from, we don't beg for anything. We earn everything that we have, you know what I mean? So it's not a win. You know, there's people saying, oh well, you know, since he defaulted, that means you guys win. No, we don't win. We don't take forfeits, right? Punks take forfeits, and we don't forfeit, and we don't take forfeit. If we have 5 broken leg players, like we're all gonna have to play with our broken leg till the end of the game, and we'll deal with whatever after, because it's not in our position to forfeit. We forfeited since 1929, right? So since Lord Abba defaulted, right? Now remember, a person who misappropriates or fails to account for money, we'll leave out the fails to account for the money, right? But somebody who does not handle their official fiduciary duties. Now, Lord Abba's questions, right? Before I go there, let's get this on the record so we can know what's really going on here. Now this is a certificate called Third Heaven Diploma for Sheikhdom in the Moorish Hall of Learning of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Now when you go through the adept chambers and you qualify yourself, right, you are presented with documentation that proves you are qualified to do whatever it is that you have to do, right? Whatever job that you were elected to do. So my job, I was elected to reclaim Canaanland, to take the concept, to take the literature, to take the idea of Noble Drew Ali and bring it to this jurisdiction and teach the people the truth about Noble Drew Ali and the divine movement, etc. Right? That was my obligation, right? Based on my contractual agreement with the Moorish Science Temple of America, that if you go speak with the executive rulers that granted me this honorable position, you can speak with Grand Sheikh Daweed Ali El, and you can speak with Grand Sheikh Kenyu Umar Bey, because they're the ones that signed off on my divine ministry diploma, certificate, qualifications. So, you know, people know what I'm doing. This is not, I'm not secretly a secret Moorish Science Temple of America member and doing stuff behind closed doors. Like, the leadership that put me into this position knows everything that we're doing, right? Now, this certificate, Abba has one of these, right? So if Abba has one of these certificates, these questions that he's asking, he's supposed to know. And if he doesn't know them, it's more than likely because he doesn't study. But based on all the videos that he's putting out and information he's putting out or whatever, okay, he has to study somewhat. So if it's not the fact that you're not studying, why don't you know the answers to these questions that you're asking? On top of that, challenging your own people who, you know, because you were one of these too. So this is supposed to be common knowledge to you. This is not something that you're supposed to be wondering about or thinking about. What you should have did, if you were honorable, what you would have did is you would have set up some type of debate, right? And challenged your questions and showed up. But you didn't show up. You decided to default your position. So since you defaulted, right, we're going to put all the questions out there. We're going to answer the questions, and you know, I hope you learned something from the information that we're presenting, because again, Abba defaulted. So this has nothing to do with Lord Abba. This has to do with our contractual agreement in the debate to present the information that we were challenged to present, right? So the topics of the debate. First question: did Prophet Noble Drew Ali promote matriarchy? That was the first question, right? So to answer that question, we'll go to the 101 questionnaire. If nobody's ever seen this before, this is called the 101 questionnaire for Moorish children, right? You see it right there, Quran questions for Moorish children, right? Keep in mind, adults are going to be reading this book, even though it's called for Moorish children, okay? Now on the cover of this book, which is common knowledge to all Moors that are members of the Moorish Science Temple of America who received this book when they joined the Moorish Science Temple of America, on the cover there's a picture of Noble Drew Ali, and he's holding a sister, and he's coming out of the cares of the world, and he has one foot on the rock of salvation, right? On the sister it says humanity, right? Why would it say humanity? It's saying humanity because humanity is where we all come from. It's saying humanity because the womb is where every living thing comes from. Whether it's a spiritual womb, physical womb, cosmic womb, universal womb, the womb is the birthplace, right? So to ask the question, did Prophet Noble Drew Ali promote matriarchy, when at the front of the book that you get when you join shows that Noble Drew Ali teaches matriarchy, shows that Noble Drew Ali is coming to uplift women. And when you uplift women, she will gravitate on the frequency that would allow the children to be taught what she knows in the womb. So when they come out of the womb, they come out of the womb with the knowledge that they need in order to take their place amongst the affairs of men and represent their nation properly. So this proves that Noble Drew Ali taught matriarchy. And for Lord Abba to ask this question proves that, one, he doesn't study, and two, he's an agent. Because only an agent would push patriarchal concepts on the people, knowing that patriarchy is what has gotten the people in the situation that they're in the first place. Because again, he has a divine minister's paperwork. He's supposed to know this information already. This is not any information that we're supposed to be discussing. This is information that we're supposed to be going out and taking to the people, which is why we decided to do the debate, so we can get this information to the people. Because if you rely on Lord Abba to teach you, he's going to tell you that Prophet Noble Drew Ali didn't teach matriarchy. But he's going to use this same 101 questionnaire and quote things from it to say that he's teaching you about Moors. Right? Second thing, when you go into the readings of Noble Drew Ali, right? The first question he asks you in the Quran question, so don't forget, the question is, did Prophet Noble Drew Ali promote matriarchy? Then you look at the Quran cover and you see Prophet holding a sister, right? And on the sister it's written humanity. And the job of the Moors, the job of the Moorish Americans, is to uplift fallen humanity. We're not saying uplift women only, but this is for the young and the unborn generations. That's why you uplift the sister, because this is not for us. Everybody is getting into this movement under the misconcept that we're supposed to benefit from this. We're 99 years behind. What do you want to benefit from? The only way you're going to benefit from this is if you're an adept, right? Go ask Moors like Jelani Bey. How come he doesn't have a license? And he's been traveling for 10, 15 years. But you don't hear anybody talk about, support those Moors, right, that are following the law. Right? Go ask him. He's on Facebook. He'll tell you. Right? Everybody's going to talk whatever about Alim Bey. Alim Bey has been... My interaction with Alim Bey started in 2006. Right? When we found out about Moors and told him to, come do a lecture. And he came over there with his paperwork. He didn't have a passport to cross the border. He had paperwork, nationality paperwork, saying that he's a Moorish American and he has the right to travel. And he was able to come over here, right? But people are going to get caught up in the fact that he filed, UCC one, and he's putting liens on people. Yeah, he can do that because he's adept. And if you want to take your time and study under him, you would be able to do the same thing too, instead of playing around with it, just like Moors are doing. What kind of stupid question did Noble Drew Ali teach matriarchy? When it's on the front of the Quran questions, and then the first question that he asks you is, who made you? Allah. Who made you? Allah. So if you were made in the image and likeness of the Creator, right, that means you come from the cosmic womb, which is feminine. People could play the game about masculine, feminine, and balance and whatever, but when I saw Ma'at holding the scale of justice, Ma'at's holding the scales of justice by herself. So if she's holding the scales of justice by herself without Tehudi, that means you don't need masculine and feminine for balance, because Ma'at's holding it by herself. Go look at all those wall carvings with Ma'at holding the scales of justice, which represent male and female, because there's 2 tiers. The 5-point star, which represents Venus, which you ask anybody who's into astrology, they'll tell you Venus is the divine feminine, right? But you're going to tell me Noble Drew Ali didn't teach matriarchy, and you're even going to question whether he taught matriarchy or not, right? We're putting this information out there because Noble Drew Ali said that if he could get you Moors to think, you would save yourself, and you wouldn't be a follower. This is not a follower movement. This is not something where you're coming in to follow somebody because they say that they are the etc. You're coming to this movement because the Spirit guided you to this movement. And you being involved in this movement is for you to take the places amongst the affairs of men and change the conditions of your people by teaching them about their nationality and their birthrights. Not debating with Moors. You know what's Moors? Moors are debating Moors about things that Moors should already have agreed to since 1913. Right? Bickering about foolishness. Things that are already supposed to be common knowledge to the people. The same way that they ramble off information about people out there who are entertainers and you know, historians and lecturers and scientists, and the same way they ramble off stuff about those people, they should be rambling off about Noble Drew Ali. Why is it nobody knows about Noble Drew Ali? Because of dirty Moors, dirty niggers, nigger Moors like Lord Abba, and these Moors that come into this movement and try to benefit off of the people's ignorance, choosing to benefit off of the people's ignorance, right? And I can talk because I almost got gamed. I almost gave those mans $1,500 to buy some package that's going to free me from the corporate system, because the corporate system is enslaving me. So the only way I can be enslaved is to file these papers. Or the only way I could be free from being enslaved is to file these papers, but they cost $1,500. But we could give you a deal, and you could pay $1,000, right? That was like 2007. Why? Because we were ignorant, right? We came into this movement through adepts, through sincere, faithful, honest Moors, right? But we got the crash course. We didn't really know what this was about until we started studying what Noble Drew Ali brought. And when you study what Noble Drew Ali brought, you realize that there's a bigger sellout going on than you ever imagined, even within the Moorish movement, which is the major part of the problem, because this movement's been around since 1913. And there's people today who don't even know about Noble Drew Ali. But they know about things before 1913. They know about people before 1913. But when you ask them about Noble Drew Ali, everybody has, blanks there on their face. You ask them about anybody else, and they're familiar. They know who that is. They know when their birthday is, when they died. They know all the things that they did in their life. And you mention about Noble Drew Ali, and nobody knows, right? You have these Moors out here trying to make a name for themselves off of trying to disprove what Moors are saying with regard to the Prophet. That's treasonous. That's traitorous. And you have intent in doing this, right? If Lord Abba is going to say, I'm canceling a debate, right? I'm canceling a debate because my camera is not working. When in 2011, I seen him on YouTube debate some dude and his camera's not working. So you tell me a whole year, like you couldn't get another camera? All of a sudden, your camera's not working, right? And that someone told him not to debate us, that it's not a good idea, right? So they couldn't tell you that, the day after we put out the flyer. They had to wait until the day before or on the day of the lecture to tell you, don't debate us, right? Like, we're not Sherlock Holmes or nothing, right? We work with the ancestors. We work with the spirits. So we're not worried about what you guys dep on, right? We have an obligation to bring Noble Drew Ali's information to the people for no gain, because you're not supposed to be profiting off of freeing your people. You're trying to profit off of freeing your people. That's no different than with the brother with Sabir, right? You're telling him not to bootleg stuff, right? He's not supposed to bootleg the DVD when the connections in that DVD, I know you got from Sabir. You made those connections yourself. But comes back to the same thing, people trying to profit, right? And then the people who aren't profiting are looking at the people profiting, and there becomes a conflict, because we're supposed to be on the same accord. If you have a Fezon, you're not supposed to be telling people about $1,500 for a package to free them, when you're really just supposed to tell them, go to the Moorish Science Temple of America on the public meeting day, on the holy meeting day, and sit down and humble yourself and listen to what all these sheiks and divine ministers have to say, and digest what they have to say, and either leave and come back and proclaim your nationality, or do it on the spot. Secretary's right over there. You go in front of the secretary, proclaim your nationality, and you get a nationality card. And the nationality card is supposed to be your everything. It's supposed to be your passport, it's supposed to be your ID, it's supposed to be your driver's license, it's supposed to be your health card, it's supposed to be everything. Do your research on nationality cards, right? Do your research on nationality cards. And remember, all this has to do with the first question: did Prophet Noble Drew Ali promote matriarchy? Right? Because the sovereign is the firstborn, and everybody knows that melanin beings are the firstborn. And if we're the firstborn, the only thing above us is God and our mother, which are one and the same entity. Did Noble Drew Ali teach matriarchy? Noble Drew Ali taught us about the Moabites. When you go do your research on the Moabites, you'll see that the Moabites were a matriarchal society. That's why the only person that's ever mentioned about the Moabites is Ruth, because the Moabites are matriarchal. And if Noble Drew Ali is going to teach us that we are descendants of the ancient Moabites, because we are Moroccans born in America, then he's saying that we have a connection to the Moabites. And if we have a connection to the Moabites, then we have a connection to the Moabites' governmental structure and how they ran things, which was matriarchal. And he's going to ask, did Prophet Noble Ali promote matriarchy? If you guys keep supporting these agents, right, they're going to continue fleecing the people. It's the people's support of these agents. There's people right now today still, right, boosting Lord Abba, putting him on their blog talk shows for him to talk about this. What are you talking about? He defaulted. When you get a letter from these European colonizers, when the European colonizers sends a Moorish American a letter to say that you owe something, and you send them a writ of whatever, when you send them the writ and you tell them to reply in 30 days and they don't reply, are you going to them after 30 days to tell them, oh, you didn't reply to that thing that I sent you, so I just wanted to let you know that you didn't reply? No, they default. And when they default, then you send your default judgment to be enforced on the person that defaulted. Well, this is Lord Abba's default judgment being served right now by the law through the authority of the Grand Mufti of the Moorish Science Temple of America for Canaanland Republic, Ontario Territory, through the authority of Prophet Noble Ali, through the authority of Allah. So you guys could support this agent if you want to. But when 1 1 equals 2, we accept that as facts. Right? You guys keep supporting these agents. Right? The next question. Because we're not even going to go into further about the matriarch question. Matriarchy question is answered. So that's one strike against Lord Abba, because we answered his question, and it's undisputable facts that were presented. All right. Question 2. If Prophet Noble Ali kicked CMB out of the temple, why does Canaanland Moors espouse his teachings? Right. Now, this is from the Moorish Science Temple of America.org. Right. Now, Moors are going to be talking about, oh, well, why are you guys debating Lord Abba? He's your brother. Why are you guys talking about your brother like that? You should. Well, CMB is your brother. CMB is Lord Abba's brother. And how come they're talking crap about him and nobody's not talking about that? Right? They'll pick and choose for the agent. They're going to pick and choose to accommodate the agent, which is what we've been doing, which is why we're in the situation that we're in, 99 years behind what the Prophet brought. Charles Mosley Bey, also known as CM Bey, was put out of the temple by Prophet Drew Ali. It was said that during a meeting, Prophet was hearing the members within the temple speak on things that was not taught nor accepted by him. He abruptly stopped the meeting and asked, who in here believes what this man is teaching? As the man Prophet was referring to was CM Bey. It was said that CM Bey was teaching the zodiac and masonry, among other things, that was not accepted by the Prophet. The Prophet, in a mighty voice, said to those who raised their hands when he asked the question, I should kill you all. Prophet Drew Ali was furious of this madness being brought into the temple. He then said, anyone who believes this man can leave with him. Charles Mosley Bey was kicked out of the Moorish Science Temple by Prophet Drew Ali. CM Bey was never made an adept. He never made any official position in the temple other than member. After he was kicked out of the Moorish Science Temple of America, he would later form his own band of foolishness called the Moorish Culture Club, which would later give birth to many bootleg groups you presently see today, such as Great Seal Clock of Destiny. Right? So they're going to talk, quote unquote, crap about CM Bey. Right? So that was from one group of Moors. Right? Now let's hear what another group of Moors who are, not on not stuck on the religious side of what Noble Drew Ali brought. Because that's another thing that people have to understand, that the movement has two tiers. There's a divine side of this movement and there's a national side of this movement, right? Divine and national are connected by and. So the two spheres have to be happening in order for this movement to fully take hold, in order to move forward. The movement has not fully taken hold after Noble Drew Ali passed, because majority of Moors that are out there started selling out and teaching that this is only a religious movement, and leaving out the civic part, and lying to the people and saying that this is the Moorish Science Temple of America from 1913, when the documented records of Noble Drew Ali show that the Moorish Science Temple of America is the latest branch of the Moorish Divine and National Movement, and was only around about a year and a half before they killed the Prophet. So to say that the religious perspective of the Moorish movement is what's supposed to be happening is a fraud. It's a fraud based on indirect insincerity, and it's a fraud based on direct insincerity, because these Moors' job was to teach people the law. Their job was not to play leadership games and have people chasing after them, and when people get in trouble chasing after them, they have no remedy, because those people that they were chasing after were agents and sellouts of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. That's why we're in the position that we are today. It has nothing to do with the enemy. He's bankrupt. He doesn't have any power. You worried about the enemy and martial law and King Alfred plan. All those guns and all those tanks and all that stuff is your stuff. He's only using it because you don't want it. You don't want it. That's not their stuff. They're not even from this land. All those things that they got were from allies, who were only allies with them because they blackmailed them. So we have to understand how broad this Moorish movement is and how many things that it involves, right? So CMB, this is from RV Bay Publications, so you can see the two different perspectives. Moors that look at it as some religious crap, that this man came in and he was speaking about some voodoo in the Moorish Science Temple, which is a religious organization and a law or whatever, and that's an abomination, so he got kicked out of the temple, right? There's that perspective, and then there's this perspective about Charles Mosley Bay, right? After the establishment, in actuality, apologies, after the establishment of Clock of Destiny National Cultural Club, CMB moved forward to form another group. At one time, there was many as 4 different organizations headed under the Clock of Destiny National Cultural Club, operating in the city of Cleveland. Even though CMB was closely affiliated with James Johnson Bay in 1956 and considered him as a vital functioning entity for the distribution of this knowledge, James Johnson Bay formed the now existing Moorish American Institute in 1970, which was housed at 2844 Woodhill Road, Cleveland, Ohio. The Institute has always maintained original teachings of Noble Drew Ali, passed down through the various teachers since 1965 and prior to the establishment of the Moorish Science Temple and its acquisition to religious connotations. As direly expressed, so as not to cause confusion to those who are seeking religious principles, Moorish American Institute is not a religious organization or church. Our sole structure is based on logic of universal knowledge and scientific definitions thereof. Moorish American Institute specializes in the teaching of Moorish history, zodiac science, yoga, and many other sciences that tend to aid humanity in understanding the universe which surrounds and is within us. When the true Moorish history is known to the Asiatics, they will no longer have a reason to resent the Europeans. It should be noted to all prospective students of interest that during the course of learning, one will come to know things that the average layman may term deviating or slick. Caution is advised to all in that this knowledge should never be exploited or hustled for personal gain over those who are not aware that it even exists, nor how to best apply for their own personal benefit or success, be it to themselves or to the nation as a whole. Failure to adhere to such a warning will only result in the destruction of the perpetrator. CMB authored Clock of Destiny 1 and Clock of Destiny 2, a great humanitarian treatise which is filed in the Library of Congress with previous intent to be public material and for preservation. He also wrote Circle of Life, wherein one can do a personal chart based on the planetary energies at one's birth and the zodiac constitution, as well as humanitarian episode lessons. And that's from rvbaypublications.com. Right? Now, in the first little article, it is quoted on this website that it was said that CMB was doing this, and it was said that, and it was said that. In the Moorish movement, there's a book called Moorish Literature, and in this book called Moorish Literature is quotes from Moors that were around during Prophet Noble Drew Ali's time, who documented and kept record of things that Noble Drew Ali said, right? So the quote that they're talking about when, Prophet said, I'm going to kill you all, and he kicked somebody out the temple. This is the quote from the Moorish Literature, which is in direct contradiction to what the first article was saying, because they were straight saying that it was CMB, right? The Holy Prophet asked the Moors, how many of you can do something? He was inquiring as to how many of them could work magic, etc. Some of the Moors stood up. The Prophet pointed his finger at them and said, I'm going to kill you all. Right? Nowhere is this person's name mentioned, CMB. So why is it that there's these Moors that are going to talk against CMB like he did something wrong when, he branched off and took his place amongst the affairs of men and founded, these organizations to teach the people the truth about their nationality and birthrights, right? Because they're a fraud, they're agents, they're sellouts, and they have no honor, they have no respect for people who are doing the work for no gain, right? So, because we heard about the talk, about CMB, so we as active Moors took the duty on ourselves to go research, because that is the job of every Moorish American. The job of every Moorish American is to go out there and research and produce literature or produce videos or DVDs or something presenting the information that you have unearthed, because there's a lot of buried information about the North Gate that only Moors are going to be able to retrieve, because we're not looking at this from an emotional perspective, right? So we made a call to the Library of Congress about these filings that basically CMB put out there, right? Now I just want to get you the number, right? 1-202-707-6787. That's the phone number for the Library of Congress, right? So we called up the Library of Congress, and the Library of Congress, upon us asking about, these certificates by CMB, said that yes, there is a thing that was filed, and she's gonna go look for it. So she goes, then she comes back and she says, okay, well, it's not there. Like, what do you mean it's not there? I said, well, it's not there. The numbers that you gave me are in the catalog as registered documents, right, in the Library of Congress, but they're not there. Okay, so how are we supposed to go about, finding out about this information? She's like, well, you could call the Copyright Office and see, because, it would have had to been original work, copyrighted, before it could be put in the Library of Congress, right? So I'm like, okay, cool, no problem. So we called the Copyright Office. Copyright Office, they we contacted them through email. They got back to us, now when we contacted them, they were like, yeah, no problem, it's here, we have the files, we'll send it to you, no problem, right? So they sent us, right, this certificate, right? So you can see the copyright seal on there, right? Okay, just so you know, it's legit, right? You can see that it has the punctured paper with the rivets, right, which proves that it's a lawful document. Okay, and the cover of this says, additional certificate of registration of a claim to copyright. This is to certify that the statements set forth in the attached have been made a part of the records of the Copyright Office with claim of copyright registered under number AA 222141. So this is documented fact that we're presenting, right? This is documented fact. This is something that, under the Freedom of Information, you have access to this information. Like, it's not secret information hidden away in some Moorish vault. This is information that's in the Copyright Office right now, right? So this states that application for registration of a claim to copyright in a book published in the United States of America. Notice that it's not a book published in the U.S. It's a book published in the United States of America. So there's a de jure perspective, right, that is known as far as geographical location of where the authority is, right? The authority is not with the U.S. Okay? Copyright claimant or claimants: Charles Mosley Bay, 2633 East 51st Street, Cleveland, Ohio. Title of work: Clock of Destiny, Moorish identification card with the Zodiac Constitution. Name: Charles Mosley Bay. Citizenship: Moorish American. Now, if Charles Mosley Bay was so against the Prophet, why would he say Moorish American on the copyright? So if you look at the copyright, right over here, we'll see that it says Moorish American, right? And Noble Drew Ali taught the Moors that they were Moorish American. So Charles Mosley Bay isn't going against the Prophet. He's actually right in line with what the Prophet said that Moors are supposed to do. Do all your business in your free national name, right? I don't see anything on here that only says Charles Mosley. Bay is attached to everything, and it's filed in the Library of Congress under Bay, right? Now, what's the nature of what CM Bay brought that Moors out there want to try to keep the people away from, right? What they're trying to keep the people away from is the fact that status is the first issue at law. And the only way that you are going to be recognized by the nations of the earth is if you know who you are. And the only way you're going to know who you are is if you get behind what the Prophet brought you. And the Prophet said that he brought you everything that it takes to save a nation, so take it and save yourself. Right? So CM Bay, AA 222, August 1st, 1956. Repealed sections 141 to 143, effective upon the date which the President determined to be appropriate for the relinquishment of jurisdiction of the United States in Morocco. Jurisdiction of the United States in Morocco was relinquished by the memorandum of President Eisenhower dated September 15, 1956. Notice was given to Morocco on October 6, 1956, and all pending cases were disposed of by 1960. Now, why is this done? This was done because of the same sellouts across the Atlantic that decided to sell out the Moors and sell the authority of the Moorish Empire to the U.S. private corporation, right? And President Eisenhower repealing these sections dealing with the status of AA 222 would mean that these documents since 1956 that CMB filed in the Library of Congress should be removed from the Library of Congress. If they're going to be repealing the sections dealing with the citizenship of Moors, right, under that, because the highest form of citizen is an AA citizen. So being that that's the highest form of citizen, and CMB is putting the Clock of Destiny nationality card on the record, right? He's putting it on the record, and his citizenship is Moorish American on the record, and the filing number says AA 222141, and that was repealed. Logically, everything that is affiliated to AA 222141 or 142 must be removed from the Library of Congress. If the president is saying that we're not going by that anymore, it's no different than the Constitution. If they say that they suspended the Constitution, then okay, if it's suspended, then why are you still using that as a reference? Why are people still saying that they have the constitutional right to do something, and then they're going to go, the people that is abusing them are going to go with the fact that they have that right and leave them alone, or go with the fact that they have the right to religion and leave them alone if this Constitution is suspended? Nobody really told you more is to think. Stop following people. They are going to lead you off the cliff, guaranteed. And they're not going to help you when you're dangling from the cliff either, knowing that they led you there. That's why we're saying leave these agents alone. Don't even give them any of your attention. The only attention that they should get from you, right? The only attention that they should get from you is you schooling them on what they should know. So hopefully, you know, their conscience kicks in and they correct their actions and get on the right side of what's supposed to be going on, right? So CMB wasn't kicked out of the temple because it doesn't say CMB's name in the literature. And all you Moors out there who are tarnishing and dragging CMB's name through the mud, all you Moors out there who are Clock of Destiny that aren't upholding what CMB said that you're supposed to do in the Clock of Destiny, need to start getting done what's supposed to be done. Because that was supposed to be another institution, just like the Moorish Science Temple, that people could go into and proclaim their nationality, or he wouldn't have filed the nationality card in the Library of Congress as proof positive that CMB was an adept, and CMB was in honor, and CMB loved and carried out the mission of Noble Drew Ali, that he taught the Moors to take your place amongst the affairs of men. All Moors are active, not passive. You know how active you have to be to have the mentality to go file your thing in the Library of Congress, but know that you have to get it copywritten? You know what type of level that you're on to be thinking about that? Let's talk CMB, right? Let's go into CMB. Clock of Destiny 2, right? This is what Moors are trying to tell you that you shouldn't know. They're trying to keep you away from this information. All right? Right? We're just going to read a page 14, Clock of Destiny 2. Light means knowledge. Light is power. It spells freedom. Freedom is everybody's job on a universal scale. For instance, if a card shark was cheating you in a game of cards, it would be unintelligent to resort to force against him. Your most intelligent act is to seek one who teaches the art of cheating, having him to teach you all angles of card cheating. Here you will be well equipped with the necessary knowledge by which it will enable you to protect your money while engaging in a game of cards with card sharks. And as soon as they discover that you are wise to all of their tricks, the card shark would automatically respect you as their equal thereafter. And as the result, the old game of cards between you and them will be played on a square minus violence or hatred or fear. Ignorance creates violence, brute force, and destruction. But wisdom, correct knowledge, and understanding creates unity, peace of mind, freedom, progress, and the pursuit of happiness. Freedom is everybody's job. The contents of this book will free you from the name Negro slave. The following are the 5 symbols of the 12 signs of the zodiac, which represents the universal law and constitution upon which civilization was founded. Now, when we look at these 5 symbols that CMB is showing honor to, right? These 5 symbols are symbols that are in the Moorish literature. The crescent and star is on your nationality card. The pyramid is on your charter. The compass and square is no different than the symbol next to it, which is the Star of David. Those are both Star of Davids. And the Great Seal, the circle of life, the clock of destiny, is your fez, is the top of your fez, cut into 4 quarters, right? Which represents the earth plane. And everybody knows that earth is a woman. Which leads to the next question with Lord Abba. Because these dirty Moors like to play power games with people, right? You know, I'm not saying that because they're niggers, they're not my brother. I'm not saying, but if you're going to be on, you know, if you're going to be a component of the nigger industry with a fez on, I don't have to deal with you because I already know your MO. I know what you know, I'm not ignorant, right? Nothing to do with qualifications and plaques and all that stuff. Has nothing to do with that. I study. Has nothing to do with wearing a black fez or a red fez. Like I study. So I'm privy to information because I study it. Not because somebody gave it to me or because I'm following somebody, right? Third question. Show and prove that the fez represents a womb. This is taught by members of this fringe group. Okay? So show and prove that the fez represents the womb. So like we're saying, there's a reason why certain things are done in code. Because if you put things out there, right, without code, people are going to be able to manipulate your things, right, and cause confusion. So let's break down the science. Let's break down the science, right, because we are more scientists. So let's break down the science, right. Now, this symbol right here, the symbol with the cross and the circle above the M, is the master's seal. Right? The 4 quadrants and the middle of the 4 quadrants is on your fez. Brothers and sisters. Because brothers and sisters wear the fez. I don't know if people are talking about sisters can't wear a fez. Right? Because the fez represents the womb. So let's look at this fez now. So here's the top of the fez, right? You have the 4 quadrants, right? You have 12, 3, 6, and 9. Right? You have the line going down, and then you have the middle. This middle right here. Right? This middle portion of the fez is where I am born. Right? The top of the fez, this right here, represents the earth plane. Right? So we'll put a question out there to everybody. Is earth a father or a mother? And if earth is a mother, and the fez itself, like this thing right here, has a top portion that represents the earth plane, right? And being that it represents the earth plane, and I am born at the top of this fez, that means the fez represents the womb, because that's the only place that you're born from. And it's that simple, and there's no science, and there's nothing spooky about it. And this person that calls themselves Supreme Grand Sheik didn't know that, right? But let's go deeper, right? Because it is a science, and if you don't know the science, then somebody's going to game you, right? So in (2009), right? 2009, I came out with this book called "Who Stole the Fez, Moors or Shriners?" Right? Because Noble Drew Ali said, in order to change the people, you must change their literature. So being that I have an obligation to the Moorish movement and to the people who do not know the truth about their nationality and birthrights, I have to put information out. So this is in the information about the fez in the book that I compiled, right? Because none of this belongs to me. I just found information, put it together in a book form, and present the information. We're not about gaining from this, trying to sell 500 copies of this book at $10 and then equaling $1 amount. Like, we don't, that's not what this is about. It's about getting the information out there, right? So 35, page 35. The body of the fez represents the pyramid, but more importantly, it is symbolic of the universe we live in, aka the cosmic womb. At the top of the fez, there are 4 corners of dots, and in the middle is where the birth takes place. Same thing I was showing you before, right? The middle is where the birth takes place. The top is symbolic of the earth plane we live in, and the 4 corners are symbolic of the 4 bricks in the circle 7, which represents earth, air, water, fire, the 4 seasons. Inside the 4 corners are sets of dots. A circle of 9 dots, 12 dots, and 18 dots. The 9 dots represent the time it takes to gestate in our mother's womb, as well as 9 is the number of completion. The 12 dots represent the signs of the zodiac in astrology, or what is called the children of Israel or Jesus' disciples, in which we all came to the planet representing a multitude of zodiac formations. The 18 dots are symbolic of as above, so below, the symbolic or the cosmic principle of correspondence and gender, male and female, which creates one divine being, still equaling 9. The stem which comes from the inside of the top of the fez, represents I, which is the 9th letter in the alphabet. And the stem is connected to a cord that is symbolic of the umbilical cord that is tied to its earthly mother, which is called the mundane circle. The cord that is wrapped around the mundane circle that holds its form is called the ties of unity, because all things are bound by a cord, as well as cyclical and reciprocal in nature. And the tassel strands represent 360 degrees of knowledge flowing at 360 degrees, not tacked down. As it was explained earlier, after the fall of the Moors in Granada, Spain, the culture of the Moors was to be wiped out of the minds of the Moors, and this culture included the divine national intellectual headwear called the fez. Okay? So we're going back again to representing the womb, right? Now in Clock of Destiny, the Grand Master Teacher, the Free Moorish Master Mason, our brother, CMB, teaches that the Res Fez represents the supreme height of practical wisdom, right? Now, practical wisdom is wisdom that you can apply. So all these sciences that you hear CMB talk about, zodiac constitution and know your chart and all this, are things that you can apply. It's not something that should be foreign to you, right? Now, there was a lot of reference to 9, right? Now we know 9 is the number of completion, right? CMB said in Clock of Destiny again that the red fez represents the supreme height of practical wisdom, right? Now when Moors learned the truth about their nationality and birthrights, they realized that everything, right? They realized that everything that we have been taught, regardless of, what source it's come from, it has an aspect of moral science applied to it, right? Remember, CMB said that the fez represents wisdom, right? Now when we go to, again, all the other schools of thought that we belong to, right? When we go to the supreme lessons of the gods on earth, that has the 7 on it, right? And there's no mistaking, right, that there's a relation. Okay? There's no mistaking that there is unity between these two schools of thought based on the symbology, because a picture says more than words are going to say. So the 7 on this and the 7 on this inside of a circle means that these are relative. Alright? So we're going to go to the English C lesson 136. I, speaking about Fard Muhammad, came to the wilderness of North America by myself. He implies he came as a free man of his own free will. His first appearance in 1910 is said to have come in contact with Noble Drew Ali. So don't be fooled by people who call themselves Nation of Gods and Earth that they don't know about Prophet Noble Drew Ali and that they shouldn't be following the protocol. Right? There's no such thing as original black man. Right? You know that you're gods and earths. So why are you calling yourself black people, which is the vial of humanity, the vomit of humanity you choose to call yourself? when your organization states different. Matter of fact, your organization states that you're a nation. And if you're a nation, similar to the Nation of Islam, then your members should be called nationals, not Muslims or gods and earths, if your claim is that you're a nation, because that's protocol. It's not something personal. But if you say that you're a nation, then you should be nationals, and you should be following national and international protocol, right? But we'll leave that alone. So we go to the supreme. We go to the 12 jewels. 2. Wisdom is the wise words spoken by the wise man. And then when we go to the daily mathematics, 2, wisdom is the wise words spoken by the wise man. Wisdom is the manifestation of the foundation, which is knowledge. ... Now when you go deeper into the teachings, these 12 jewels, daily mathematics, supreme lessons, all these axioms, all these divine principles are broken down when you research online, right? So remember, the Fez represents wisdom. So this is what I found online from a higher degree of nation of gods and earths who actually adhere to the principles of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, called herself Moors and everything, right? Wisdom is the manifestation of one's knowledge, the ways and actions one uses his or her knowledge to know the truth, such as speaking wisely to the wise, to the dumb, or to possess a wise mind. Wisdom is woman. So if wisdom is woman, and CMB says that wisdom is representative of the Fez, then right there again, showing and proving that the Fez represents the womb, because only women have them, right? And it's very logical, and it's not anything too advanced. All we have to do is do like Noble Drew Ali said, and think, Mars. That's all. Just think. Think for yourself. Forget what people said. Forget what Taj said. Forget what nature said. Forget what Alim Bey said. Forget what Queen El Bey said. Forget what Yafa Bey said. Go study for yourself and find information. Forget what those people said. Even if they say something, go check it. Don't just go with it because they said it, because they're in a position of, you know, giving information out. Master teacher. Because master teachers fool people too. That's why sincere master teachers will tell you, when you study and you find out something contrary to what I'm presenting, make sure you come back and tell me so I can correct that error. Right? The next question, right? Oh, one more thing too. The Fez representing the womb. Remember, we're talking about 9, right? And people want to know, how does the Star of David represent the Fez symbolically? All right? So we know that the Star of David is based on the spiritual and physical coming together as 2 triangles. One triangle facing up, and then one triangle facing down, and them coming together, right? Is what makes the Star of David. Those 2 triangles are representative of the unification of the higher self and the lower self, right? So when you look at the Fez, right, you would notice that the Fez has a flat top, right, which represents the earth plane. Okay? And it's 360 degrees. And then people would stop there. But the bottom of the fez is also 360 degrees. Right? And 360 degrees twice is 720 degrees. And 720 degrees equals to 9. 7 and 2 plus 0. Plus 360 degrees equals to 9. Plus 180 degrees equals to 9. Plus 90 degrees equals to 9. And 90 degrees is the 4 quadrants that breaks up the top of the fez, or the earth plane. Right? And as we know, 9 represents wisdom, as we learned from the Nation of Gods and Earths, which is also our school of thought. And CMB taught that wisdom is representative in the fez. So 9 all around. Right? And with the turban is measured at yards that equal to 9 as well. Right? The 4th question. Show and prove that there ever was officially an incorporated or chartered temple named Moorish Holy Temple of Science. We go to the same literature, the divine literature, or the Moorish literature, sorry, right? And there's a reading in there called Moorish Leaders' Historical Message to America. And this breaks down how the divine and national movement is broke up into segments, right? We organized as the Moorish Temple of Science in the year 1925 and were legally incorporated, right? So remember, he's asking, show and prove that there was officially an incorporated, chartered Moorish Holy Temple of Science, right? Or Moorish Temple of Science, or something other than Moorish Science Temple of America is really what he's getting at. Because everybody thinks that Moorish Science Temple of America was from the beginning, 1913. And if they didn't go through the attic chambers, then they wouldn't know the inside information. Because knowing the inside information gives you a different perspective of the Moorish movement. This is why it was said that things that come into the attic chamber don't leave the attic chamber. Right? But the real attic chamber was supposed to be the grand body. And really that's the only place that, you know, no information is supposed to get out. But in your temple, the attic chamber is supposed to be open for everybody to become adept. Because that's the only way that we're gonna get this, by being active. And the only way that you're gonna be active is if you're adept. You can't be inept and be an active more. If you're inept and you're active, they will kidnap you. They will do stuff to you to deter you from getting down on this, right? And think about this perspective. The Moors that are fueled with the energy, right, of Moors who were with the Prophet years ago, that coming to this information, right, but are taught to be passive, they are gonna feel like they're not able to really express themselves. So what they're gonna do is they're gonna secretly do things to try to be active, because, you know, when you go home, you're reading the Circle 7, you're reading the 101 questionnaire, you're reading the Moorish literature, and you're getting a totally different perspective from Noble Drew Ali than you're getting in your temple. But, you know, the temple is teaching you that you can't challenge certain things in the temple, when really and truly your job is to challenge them, especially if they're not doing what they're supposed to do, because just like in the default definition, they have a fiduciary duty to you. They're not in that position of Grand Sheikh, Grand Governor, Grand Secretary, Grand Treasurer, etc. for them to take advantage of you. It's really for you to take advantage of them. That's really what they're there for. You're supposed to be telling them what they're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be telling them what you need to do. You're supposed to be telling them what issues you're having out in the world so that they can speak on your behalf. That's why the Moral Science Temple of America was incorporated in the first place, so that these people can be held to their obligation to do their job. Right? The Moorish leaders' historical message to America. We organized as the Moorish Temple of Science in the year 1925 and were legally incorporated as a civic organization under the laws of the state of Illinois, November 29, 1926. The name Moorish Temple of Science changed to Moorish Science Temple of America, May 1928, and then Noble Drew Ali died in 1929, which means that the Moorish Science Temple was only around a few months before the Prophet, or a year and a bit before the Prophet was assassinated. Now keep in mind that we're talking about documented facts, right? Now if you go look on YouTube, this was one of the first videos that we did, Canaanland Moors, active versus passive, when we found out about how deep the infiltration was, for two reasons. One, because the information was presented to us by sincere, loyal, faithful Moors of the Prophet who were part of that Abbot chamber, who knew that you can't really talk about things outside of the Abbot chamber, but said, you know what, we're taking off these muzzles and we're gonna put the information out there so people could really know what's going on, because the infiltration is why the movement hasn't done what it's supposed to do. It's because of the infiltration why the movement has, it's not because the enemy has no power. They're bankrupt. They have no power unless the power that you give them, because they are all about energy vampirism. That is their MO. Energy vampirism. And to protect yourself from energy vampirism is nationality. On the back of the 101 questionnaire is the Our Authority paperwork that was filed to legally incorporate the Moorish Temple of Science and change the name to Moorish Science Temple of America so that we can start engaging in corporate activity. Now, on one of the questionnaires, you're going to say that, and the said Moorish Science Temple of America adopted as its corporate name the following Moorish Science Temple of America. And then there's another authority that says the Moorish Holy Temple of Science adopted as its corporate name the following Moorish Science Temple of America. Now, if somebody's saying that, you know, my name is Kellogg's, and I have a corporation called Kellogg's, and it's been a religious corporation, so we're going to change the name Kellogg's to Kellogg's, and now Kellogg's is going to be a religious corporation opposed to just a religious corporation. Doesn't make sense. You're not going to change something. You're not going to have a name and use the term change and then the new name is the same as the old name. That's fraud, right? So it's documented, like what Lord Abba was saying, and it comes back to the same first question. The front of the questionnaire is teaching you that Noble Drew Ali teaches matriarchy. The back of the questionnaire is teaching you that the Moorish Temple of Science was officially changed and that it was incorporated, because you would also have the Moorish literature that would tell you that it was incorporated. And if Moors had more faith in their prophet, we wouldn't be in this situation either. A lot of Moors, you know, think that the prophet didn't get his work done, that he was stopped from doing his full work when he did everything that he was supposed to do. Our problem is that we're not doing that. And then that's why he said that all Moors are active, not passive, right? Another thing to bring up, all you Moors out there, if you are a Moorish American and you are a member of the Moorish Science Temple of America, I am challenging you to challenge your grand sheiks, your grand governors, or whoever is in authority, right? Whoever is the person that you call your teacher, your supreme teacher, your head, your leader, etc., that you go to them and you ask them for this book. The Mukarrabin Files, an answer to the 45th question by Richard Edwards L. Right? The Mukarrabin Files. And this is how thick it is, so you know what you're getting into. Alright? This is supposed to be common knowledge to Moors. So go ask your grand sheiks about the Mukarrabin Files. And they should be very willing to give this to you, because, you know, this book has the whole history of the Moorish Science Temple of America. It has the whole history of the Moorish Divine and National Movement, the whole history of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science. All those, I want to see where it was officially incorporated and show some paperwork. Everything's in the Mukarrabin Files, right? These are one of the books that I got from the Adept Chamber, right? That the Moors that were in the Adept Chamber, like, willingly gave this to me. They weren't even secret with it, which lets me know that there's something going on. There's some kind of conspiracy to try to keep the truth about your nationality and birthrights to you. Because if you knew the truth about your nationality and birthrights, you would immediately recognize when they're trying to create a false jurisdiction and trap you in it, whether it's the European or whether it's your own brother. Because you would have the knowledge, you would have the information. Without information, you're ignorant. And if you're ignorant, then believe me, somebody's going to come suck on your dead carcass. Because that's what the game is about. The game is about playing a leadership position and getting you to think that they're really the leader. When Noble Drew Ali said, Allah alone guides the destiny of this Moorish movement. Allah alone guides the destiny. Nobody else could claim to have some type of authority to exercise something in the Moorish movement if, you know, Allah didn't do it. And then on top of that, don't get caught up in the idea that Moors who have knowledge and hold it back are insincere, right? They might be sincere. They might be holding back information because they don't want you to go out there and get injured, because it's dangerous getting into this information. There's brothers that right now, there's brothers locked up for that information. There's brothers that from Canaanland that's been into the madhouse for speaking about this information, right? You might have went to the madhouse, but all this stuff got dropped, right? There might be Moors locked up, but, you know, for some Moors the work doesn't stop regardless of what you're put up against. It's like Brother Taj said, when you find yourself in the belly of the whale, you know, you might as well scratch the whale's belly and, you know, get comfortable and continue to do the work. Because the reason why people get themselves in these situations is because of these same dirty Moors that don't put the information out. So people are going to have to fend for themselves. But fending for yourself is dangerous out here, right? Why is fending for yourself dangerous? Because of King Alfred's plan. And this is where we get into recognizing that, you know, these people that we call our leaders that decided to take checks, we can't play games with these people. They have objective, and their objective is to keep you away from your prophet and your Moorish movement. It's yours. It doesn't belong to anybody, just like the land. Doesn't belong to anybody, but you have access to use it at your free will, right? Let's go to, again, the questionnaire, right? And when you go to the questionnaire, he's talking about that there's additional laws, right, in the questionnaire. These are separate from the divine constitution and bylaws. These are additional laws onto the divine constitution and bylaws. And Act 5 says all members must promptly attend their meetings and send their children to Sunday school. And the teacher must confirm himself to the questionnaire. And let every member exercise his 5 senses who is able to do so. Because out of your Sunday school comes the guiders of the nation. What's he saying? All Moors are active, not passive. Where's the temple schools at? All these Moor science temples around here, how many of them have school going on Sunday? I know of one. And I don't see too much promotion of any other Moor science temples out there that are having school on Sundays, when that's the protocol. Every single temple is supposed to have a school. It's not supposed to be church, people to go and worship, and what, after that you're using it for a harem? It's for schools to be implemented in there. And if you are in a temple and there's no school there, you need to be questioning your leadership. Don't sit back there and not say anything because they're the leadership, when you could jump that ship and get out another temple with some active Moors who's doing something, so you can spiritually, clean yourself up. Because if you're gonna be passive in this, you might as well just be a nigger. If you're not gonna use this, if you're gonna say, yeah, I'm a Moor, but then your Facebook says you're John Franklin, then what's the sense making the claim that you're a Moor? Right? If you're not gonna go out there and tell people about this Moorish movement, what's the sense even being involved? Because you come unusable. You become a threat to the movement. You become a threat to the prophet. You become a threat to yourself. Because all these people that have infiltrated all these organizations, black organizations, Moorish organizations, whatever, right? They have a position, and their position is clearly outlined in King Alfred plan. Clearly, right? Diversion, the primary strategy. This is why we call Lord Abba agent, because the strategy that he's using is directly in line with King Alfred plan. Whether he's an indirect agent or a direct agent, he's an agent. He might be a spiritual agent. Some entity is probably using him right now like a robot. He doesn't even know. It's probably, you think you're engaging Lord Abba, you're engaging some entity that has him. Right? Experience has proven that the simplest method of securing a silent weapon and gaining control of the public is to keep the public undisciplined and ignorant of basic systems principles, on the one hand, while keeping them confused, disorganized, and distracted with matters of no real importance on the other hand. That's what we were talking about with why the Mufti, after counseling with the Orishas, came back and said, why are we even bothering with this guy? Because their method is to keep the people confused, disorganized, and distracted with matters of no real importance. All these questions that Abba's asking are of no real importance to him. Us answering these questions are not going to do anything to Abba. He already has a position. He's not going to take information that he never heard before and build on it. He's going to go and try to find ways to say that everything that I said in this video is wrong. Watch, bet you. Right? No different than Brother Polite. See, watch. I'm going to say that the white man's not the devil, and everybody's going to jump on me and try to kill me. And look what happened. Right? Look exactly what happened. Same thing. Because of follower mentality. People not taking their own liberation serious. Everybody wants unity, but you know, individually they don't have their stuff together, right? So the primary strategy of diversion is achieved by disengaging their minds, sabotaging their mental activities by providing a low-quality program of public education. So these Moors out here that want to put up a court video and say Moors in court and show you how you go in court and challenge the jurisdiction, but not show you the protocol that led up to them being to that in the first place, including what they did that even has them in that situation, right? They're providing a low quality program because they're not giving you everything that you need. Even though, you know, the spirit works in mysterious ways, and if you watch the video when they were dealing with the European judge, right? Don't forget, those are like Abba's people, right? Ex-people or whatever, but they're affiliated, right? When it came down to the issue of contract, which makes the law, the European judge asked them, "Did you file your paperwork?" And the reply was that, yeah, it was done last night. Now, protocol is, if you're putting somebody on notice, you need to put them on notice with enough time for them to reply to your claim. And if you don't, you're in default. How come nobody's asking what happened after that Moors in court video? Like, what happened after that? Like, okay, you went in court, you did whatever, you talked stuff, judge got mad, walked out, some judges were, okay, cool. But what happened after? Because obviously, you know, nothing got resolved. I didn't hear anybody say this is dismissed, or, you know, this court has defunct us, or anything. They just left. So the matter wasn't resolved. And it comes back to the same thing of questioning those people that's putting out information that you're going to go take and try to use. Because I guarantee you that if you think that you're going to take this information, right? If you think you're going to take this information and go out there to one of these policy enforcer, inquisition, executioner individuals who are in possession of your birthright, and you're going to talk some crap, you're going to talk some shit that you're a Moor, and you know, they don't have any authority to do this or that to you. In some jurisdictions, they will kidnap you and kick your ass. For real. In some jurisdictions, they'll actually leave you alone. So you have to know what jurisdiction you're in order to know how to counteract what they're doing to you. If you don't know what jurisdiction you're in, you lose. Because the first issue at law is status. So if you're in a jurisdiction and status hasn't been confirmed, you're already in it. And being that you're in it, you better know the law. So now you can hold them to their obligation since you're in the jurisdiction. Because really, it's not even supposed to go that far. Status is the first issue at law. There's Moors, I know, for years that I could call on the phone, that's been going to court for years with tickets for no insurance, no license, no plates, no this, no that. Dismissed. Then there's other Moors going to do it, and they're getting locked up. They're getting charged with contempt. They're getting kidnapped. They're getting kicked out of the court, and then the court is going ahead with the trial after they kick them out, and then you know, executing bench warrants fake bench warrants to go kidnap them in the fraudulent name that they just came and told the court that they're not on the record. So it's dangerous. It's not a joke getting in this, right? King Alfred plan is about extermination, right? If anybody is attached to infiltration, they are enforcing King Alfred plan under the guise of, it might be Moorish Science Temple, it might be black power, it might be black supremacy, it might be something. But if you don't study, you're not going to know. If you don't take those headphones out your ears and read some books, if you don't get off YouTube, you will be damaged. Guaranteed. Because it's happening right now. Right now. There's Moors locked up because they were followers. And somebody did something and they just thought it was a good idea, so I'm going to do it too. And when they do it, not being spiritually connected to what you're doing, you're going to fail miserably. And when you fail and you stick your hand up out of that hole for that hand grip that's on the nationality card, you're not going to find anybody. Nobody's hand's going to be there for you to grip because you just got gamed. And some people are going to learn the hard way. And some people, you know, they're going to follow the law and study what the Prophet brought. Question 5. If the Prophet made clear the description of our flag, why do Canaanland Moors fly the flag of Pleasant Bay and not the Moorish American Muslims? Now, first of all, what he's referring to is this flag right here. You might have seen it online, right? This is not Pleasant Bay's flag, idiot. So you know, because it comes back to following. And if you're saying that you are Supreme Grand Sheikh, that means you've been through the chambers. And if you've been through the chambers, you would know that this flag was actually at the back of the adept badges during the Prophet's time. This flag was at the back of the adept badges. This is not Pleasant Bay's flag. Of course, if you go ask, you know, the heads that are in the adept chamber, because they took an oath to secrecy, and only Masons do that, they're not going to tell you that inside information. They're going to tell you that I'm talking shit. And why are you listening to that renegade Moor? And he follows Taj, and he follows Pleasant Bay, and all that, right? I'm not a Pleasant Bay follower. I'm a divine minister. I'm not a follower of Pleasant Bay. Like I'm qualified to talk on matters regarding the Moorish American national government, right? It's not fraud what Pleasant Bay is doing. He's just creating a jurisdiction because of the sellout in the Moorish movement. No different than Brother Taj created a jurisdiction when he founded Moors Order of the Round Table. He just wasn't giving out nationality cards and stuff like that. But he can do that under the Moors Order of the Round Table, right? But if he did that, he would have to start from scratch, from when he founded it, and it wouldn't have any connection to 1913, right? The only connection that anything other than Moorish Divine and National Movement has to 1913 is if they're using the protocol that Noble Drew Ali brought, which is what CMB did, which is what Elahi Pleasant Bay is doing, right? And then the other side of that are the ones that do it for some type of gain, right? The ones that call themselves, you know, Aboriginal things and indigenous things, and they're trying to, you know, they're trying to exercise what Noble Drew Ali said, but Noble Drew Ali said that, you know, the only way you're going to get through this is through your connection to the Moorish Divine and National Movement. So at least, the least that you should do, if you want to go out there and help your people and you don't want to do it as or under the Moorish Science Temple of America, the least you should do is go to the Moorish Science Temple of America to retrieve all of Noble Drew Ali's information, so at least you can have the right perspective when you go out there telling people about, you're their consul, and that you can, get them out of any situation that they get into. And if you join our organization, we'll naturalize you, not nationalize you, but we'll naturalize you and give you your status back when they can't give you your status back. You're a Moor, regardless of what you call yourself. You're a Moor, and your nationality is Moorish American, right? And we know that Moorish American is a corruption of Moroccan American, right? It's only Moorish American because the Prophet saw that somebody else was going to be claiming that name, so he made something distinct for us. But Moors don't trust what the Prophet brought. Moors want to, play the game, right? So we got about 20 minutes left, and there's 2 more questions, right? Question 6. So that one was so the whole thing with our flag, right? So just to say that, Pleasant Bay, nothing isn't Pleasant Bay's. Mang isn't Pleasant Bay's. He's just an officer of it, just like everybody else who's involved in it, right? And people who want to jump ship and say that, oh, he's a fraud and he did this and he did that, it's because you don't understand what he's doing. Same way that Moors didn't understand what CMB was doing, and they're going to go ridicule CMB and say that CMB is a sellout and he's an agent, and Noble Drew Ali kicked him out of the temple when, it didn't even go like that. Right? Next thing, question 6. If Prophet told all Moorish leaders, the heads of all temples are to by force refrain from all wrath, words, profanity in the mildest form from his members, then why is Kudro of the Canaanland Moors cursing people out on Facebook of all places, also calling his brother niggers, which the Prophet said never to do? This is the very reason I blocked this guy, because of his language toward me. Right? So he's telling you straight that he blocked me because I called him nigger. Alright? Now, what Noble Drew Ali said comes back to the thing that these Moors like to quote the Prophet, but they don't want to quote exactly what was said. They want to quote what is accommodating to them to get followship. Because this is about followship. Who's going to follow who? From Lord Abba's perspective. He's trying to disprove Canaanland Moors so people could follow him. Because he's an egomaniac. Like, literally. Right? He is engulfed in his own ego. And he can't humble himself to admit that he doesn't know. You ask me something. If I don't know, I don't know. I'm not going to try to run you around something and bring up some things that have nothing to do with what you ask me. Like Lord Abba does. Right? Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, if your brother does something wrong to you, don't call him a nigger, call him a dirty Moor. Now, nowhere in there does it say that Prophet said never do that. Right? He said don't do that. He's being polite because he's trying to show niggers that they're Moors. But when you get to the level of dirty Moor, that means that you abandon the Prophet. When you get to the level of dirty Moor, that means that you're not following the principles that was ordered for you to deliver to the people. Right? The reason why I call Lord Abba a nigger, to put it out there, is because in my opinion Lord Abba is below a dirty Moor, and he doesn't deserve to get called dirty Moor. Right? That's a title that the Prophet Noble Drew Ali put on the traders. Right? Dirty Moor. And secondly, as far as Abba is concerned, You know, Prophet said, if your brother does something wrong to you, Abba never did nothing wrong to me, so why can't I call you a nigger? You know, and it comes back to if you get you to think, you save yourself, right? Now, Prophet also said, it will take 50 years to find out what I brought you, and if you are not careful, 50 years after I am gone, you won't know I have been here. That's King Alfred plan, warning you that your own is going to sell you out. Your own is going to take checks, kill your prophet, say that he died of tuberculosis, right? Bury him in Burr Oak Cemetery, same cemetery as Emmett Till, but then not take care of the grounds where he was buried, and say that they uphold the prophet, and there's not anything there for people to go and even identify that, oh, there's the prophet Noble Drew Ali's gravesite, who was the founder of Islam in America. Or they're going to talk crap about, oh, we don't have to honor the dead. He didn't want nobody to know where he was buried to keep his legacy alive. What foolishness are you talking about? If you honor him, why don't you grand sheiks that are say that you're part of the grand body in Mecca go to Burr Oak Cemetery and make them deal with his grounds properly? Just like you're ordering Moors to do what the Prophet said. Why don't y'all do what the Prophet said and uphold him and revere him for the work that he did, not out of worship, but because he did monumentous work that we don't even know what he did, right? The Prophet also said, if you are not careful, your own brothers will try to put you in slavery. Why did Drew Ali say this? This was prophecy that Moors would go back to the nigger state of mind, crab in the bucket state of mind, that opposed to upholding what your brother or your sister's doing, you want to draw them down so you can take their position, which is what Abba's doing. Abba's looking for followers. He's looking for people to join his whatever it is that he hasn't even founded yet, when he's really supposed to be, you know, upholding his diploma that he got as a divine minister, paying his dues, which he hasn't paid, right? He's going to go and get a divine minister certificate saying that he's qualified to teach from a temple, and then run off with the paperwork and not pay dues. You tell me that's not traitorous and treasonous to the Moorish movement? And people want to beg friends from this guy, right? How come he's not going to the Negro people and telling them about Noble Drew Ali said, don't call your brother a nigger? Because when they say that they're black, they're saying they're a nigger. When they say that they're Negro, they're saying that they're a nigger. When they say that they're colored and that they're African, they're saying that they're niggers. So how come you're not going and challenging them, right? Fame and nobility belongs to the Prophet only. Nobody could get that. Nobody could try to take that, right? Noble Drew Ali said, if I can get you Moors to think, you will save yourself. So technically, we could do this on our own. We don't need to be unified as you know, a nation of Moors, because we're already a nation. Stop the crap. We're a nation already. The problem is why it's not recognized the way that it's supposed to be recognized is because dirty nigger Moors haven't done what they're supposed to do since 1929, but they're sitting in the seats of power. And the people, knowing that these people have defaulted on their fiduciary duties, aren't doing anything about it. They're not charging them. They're not telling them in the meetings that they need to change their position. They're not doing anything whatsoever. They're not making a complaint to the Mufti, so the Mufti could enforce the law on these people who have an obligation to the citizens. It's very deep what's going on, right? This is not shallow matters. This is very deep. extremely deep. And I'm not, don't get it twisted. I'm not some, knowledgeable, I know everything more. I don't know anything. We only been navigating this for 4 years. But I know, based on, the activity that Moors have taken out here, that trust in the Prophet and love their Prophet and will do anything. They will put their life down for the Moorish movement. I see them backing these policy enforcers down. I see there'll be a group of uneducated Moors hanging around a Moor, and policy enforcers will come to try to pull we need to see everybody's ID, and on the spot that Moor would nationalize all those brothers and pull them into the Moorish jurisdiction because they're in adversity. And in doing that, they would be left alone just by him as an individual taking the position of telling somebody who doesn't know. And when you tell that person who doesn't know, they are going to vibrate on a certain frequency, and they will gravitate to like frequencies, which is why Noble Drew Ali held up the 101 questionnaire, because the 101 questionnaire was meant for Moors to be on the same accord mentally. That's why he held up the Circle 7, or the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, so that Moors could be one accord mentally. That's why he said the headwear is the fez and the turban, so the Moors are on the same frequency together. That's why he said the Moroccan flag, because the Moors would be on the frequency together. That's why he put out the literature, and he said study, study, study. And that's why he said I'm going to be repeating myself, because we're not going to get over this overnight. This is not an overnight process. And this is not a process where you have to go into some de facto county court recorder to file your paperwork on the public record. You're supposed to go to the Moorish Science Temple of America, and your nationality card is supposed to do everything. The reason why it's not today is because Moors haven't done what they're supposed to do for 99 years. For 99 years, Moors didn't do what they were supposed to do. Their position was to lie to the people. Their position was to pretend like there's this thing called adept chamber that the people can't belong to, and you have to qualify yourself by taking these tests, and they basically just bore the people into leaving the temple, because you're never gonna get qualified to take the test. Every time you get qualified and you go take the test, they're gonna fail you, because they're gonna see what level that you're on, and they know that you're gonna go out there and you're gonna be teaching the civic perspective opposed to the religious perspective, which teaching the religious perspective is what has caused the Moorish movement to be passive. That new people are coming in and they're questioning the authority of the Moorish movement because of all this confusion that they see, not knowing that it's deeper than what you see. It's deeper than the surface, right? It's way deeper than what you see on the surface. If you just say Noble Drew Ali, Moorish Science Temple, and you just go research that, you're not going to get the information. Everything that you get is going to have some distortion in it, some misconcept in it. And again, I'm not saying we're not right. I'm not saying that like we're wrong, right? But I am saying that we don't know it all. Everything that we're presented is based on our own study that we've done as Moors in Canaanland. And for somebody to come challenge us on what should be common knowledge to everybody that says they're Moorish American, that person must be an agent. It doesn't equate to anything else for me, right? Now the last question, question 7, and it's kind of funny that he asked 7 questions, right? Which is in line with the Circle 7 and, you know, everything that the Moors are about. So, you know, nobody knows, right? Nobody knows. Only Lord Abba knows, you know. But as far as we're concerned, well, as far as I'm concerned, because I can only talk for myself right now, but I'm sure this is the mentality of everybody that's part of the Moorish movement in Canaanland. Like, Lord Abba, we don't want nothing to do with that guy, right? Because there's no need to do anything with that guy, right? So question 7, show and prove one document that has the name Sheikh Sharif Abdul Ali on it and was signed by the Prophet's own hand. This pseudonym has been accepted by many as the name of the Prophet, but no one has ever shown and proved where this name was ever signed. Now, Noble Drew Ali said out of his own mouth, I was given a high name over there in Mecca, but you cannot use it here. So if the Prophet said the name can't be used here, why would there be a document that says his high name on it if the name can't be used here? Right? Noble Drew Ali said to think. Noble Drew Ali said in the bottom of the 101, see Hurd's Revised Statute, chapter 32, 36, asterisks or appointed asterisks or wardens, vestrymen, or whatever they may adopt. And Moors didn't even go look at that to go see what that's about. Which is the problem, because they're waiting for somebody to tell them. They didn't want to go research Hurd's Revised Statute. Now when you research Hurd's Revised Statute, you find out that Timothy Drew, right, was the colonizer's name, Drew. So he can't use that name. Noble Drew Ali, that has the Moorish appellation attached to Drew, is still fraud, because that still has corporate relations, being that Drew is attached to it, right? Sheikh Sharif Abdul Ali was the name that was written in the mandate from the Pan American Conference. And remember that whatever was in the adept chamber was supposed to be kept amongst the adept. So if these sellout Moors could make you think that Noble Drew Ali proclaimed his nationality and called himself, or Timothy Drew proclaimed his nationality and called himself Noble Drew Ali, you would think that you can take the religious perspective of this movement and just attach El or Bey or Day or Al or Ali to your slave name and be free, which is a fraud, because you can't do that. That's a fraudulent act. So all these Moors that's going around with a European name with Bey attached to it or El attached to it, technically that's fraud. They're not going to tell you that. Those people that make you do that, they're not going to tell you that, right? And then they're going to try to tell you that there was nowhere that Noble Drew Ali said that his name is Sheikh Sharif Abdul Ali, right? When it is documented in the adept chamber, and you're going to have to go talk to those people in the adept chamber who are the people of the grand body, whatever grand body it is that they claim to be in whatever territory. If they say that they're grand body, then they have access to the mandate. And if they have access to the mandate, it will show that either Noble Drew Ali's name is written on there, which leads us back to Hurd's Revised Statute, because Noble Drew Ali said do everything in the name of Noble Drew Ali, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, or do it in the name of Moorish Science Temple of America, because Noble Drew Ali is a corporate name. It's called a juridic person, J-U-R-I-D-I-C. So Noble Drew Ali is a juridic person, not a human being. And Timothy Drew proclaimed his nationality when he went to Mecca. and return with the authority from the Sultan, who has never once, nobody in the family has ever come and said, you Moors need to remove the Sultan's picture from your book. Why they haven't done that? Because it's legit. Right? The name Sheikh Sharif Abdul Ali is Noble Drew Ali's free national name. That's known to the adepts in the chamber. And the adepts in the chamber's job is to tell the people the truth about their nationality and birthrights. If people knew that Timothy Drew proclaimed his free national name as Sheikh Sharif Abdul Ali, they wouldn't be calling themselves Johnson Bey and Braswell Bey and Smith Bey and all these European names attached to the Moorish appellation. They would do everything in their interests to make sure that they correct their name from their straw name completely from the start, which would eliminate the problem of, you know, saying that you're Sean Jeffries Bey and then you have a license that says Sean Jeffries in all caps, and now you're fighting for your right to travel when they have jurisdiction over you because you are using their name still. Even though, if you're sharp, you can still have the European name and get through. Don't misinterpret what I'm saying, right? I'm not saying you can't do that, but the full activity of proclaiming your nationality is having a name that has no relation to the European slave name, or the name that is going to get you drawn back into that jurisdiction, right? So, and again, if you're looking for something that says Sheikh Sharif Abdul Ali on it, since the Prophet said that name can't be used over here, more than likely you're not going to find anything. And if you do find something, please present it so it could be on the record, right? The last thing was a couple readings of the Prophet. I, the Prophet, truly believe that my people will find the true and divine way of their forefathers and learn to stop serving carnal customs and merely ideas of man that have never done them any good but have always harmed them. So if there's any information that wasn't clear, you already know Kudro Adwa L on Facebook, or you can send an email to Mang Ontario, M-A-N-G Ontario @gmail.com. And I also want to send a shout out to the Canaanland Moors for staying diligent and staying in honor and continuing to uphold their obligation to teaching the people the truth about their nationality and birthrights from the right perspective. I want to say honors to all the active Moors. You already know who you are. We don't have to say any names. And I want to say honors to the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, honors to Marcus Garvey, and honors to all leaders that are speaking for liberation of the melanin race through following national principles. I leave you as I came, in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And I say Islam to the family. Peace.